you? Are you okay?
Yes, I'm doing fine. I mean, I have some allergy. I have an allergy.
Oh no.
So please forgive me if you see me blowing my nose.
Oh,
Oh,
oh, your nose.
sorry.
Oh no.
Yeah.
You sound like you're full of it. Yeah, it sounds really
Yeah.
uncomfortable. Are you feeling
Yes.
okay?
No, yeah, it is normal life for me. Yeah, I'm allergic to cats and I happen to have five. So, I, yeah, it is
You're a
daily
crazy
life.
woman.
I am.
Crazy.
I am. Yes, definitely. Yes.
Anyway,
So
it's good
yeah,
to see you.
it is good to see you, and I wanted to say thank you so much for agreeing to do this conversation with me on
No
um,
problem.
tobacco. Tobacco, yeah, yeah,
Tobacco. Yeah.
and
Hmm.
nicotine, and how can I say smoking addiction or tobacco addiction? How do you call it?
Either tobacco addiction, smoking addiction. Yeah, either really. Hmm.
Yeah, and the reason I was excited the most to talk to you about that, it's because I do remember our early conversations back in 2016.
Wow.
Yes, I do remember. We've been, how can I say, we've known each other for quite a while now.
Long time. I hadn't
Yeah,
realized it was so long. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and I do remember that from our early conversations. You mentioned that you used to work as a how, quit smoking advisor.
Yep, that's right. Exactly. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
amazed that you remembered that. So,
of course. Yeah. Uh, yeah, but one of the reasons I guess I kept that information was because back then, in 2016, my father received a diagnosis of something dark in his lungs. And back then, I'm not sure if I'm expressing this correctly, something dark. And then the doctors asked him to to do a biopsy,
yes.
and it was more likely to be cancer, what they
Hmm.
saw in the X-ray. I'm not
Yeah,
sure
like
if you.
a shadow
Yes,
on his lungs on the X-ray. Yeah. Huh?
yeah, and since he was a smoke for uh, maybe 40 years,
Yeah.
it was very likely to be cancer.
Yeah.
But he never took the exam, never.
The
He's
biopsy.
the biopsy. He's still alive, but
Yeah.
he has a lot of trouble breathing and a lot of symptoms.
Symptoms. Okay.
Yeah,
Hmm.
so that's the reason why my mother, she was also a smoker. I've been dealing with smoking addiction throughout my life, and
Yeah.
yeah, and so that's why this topic somehow matter, because I feel like what I'm kind of doing with this challenge project that I decided to create is talking to people about the subjects that matter the most to me. So I'm doing some researches.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what I
That's
noticed.
interesting. That's really a cool thing to do.
Yeah.
Great.
It is. I hope so, at least. What I noticed when I traveled abroad last year for the first time was that I wanted to, I wanted to get to know people, but I wanted them to get to know me as well. But what I noticed is that I lacked the words to communicate who I was, and I could only talk about daily things. I would never. So, for example, for this conversation with you, I studied the words for smoking addiction.
Okay.
I wouldn't have those words to use to
Yeah.
tell people that my father was a smoker, and then I've been in this environment that is very harmful somehow. Uh,
Mm.
I wouldn't be able to express that, so I'm glad that I decided to do that.
That's cool. So it means that you're
Yeah,
learning the vocabulary for lots of different topics. Yeah, which is a
yeah,
really great thing to do. Most people don't do that when they're learning a language. So you're
yeah.
pushing yourself.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
which is fantastic. Yeah, well done.
Yeah. So once again, thank you for helping me.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I wanted to begin with a question for you. Why do you think people start smoking? With your experience, I researched some reasons, but I'm not sure. What I found out by reading was that they start because of maybe their parents were smokers or their friends.
Yeah.
Is that the reason? Is
Yeah.
there are other reasons why people?
Yeah, there are, but those are the main two reasons. Because it's not a nice thing to do the first time you do it. It's pretty horrible. So the question is, why do people persevere to
Yeah.
do it? Because their friends are doing it. That's the main reason. So the main two reasons are, if your parents smoked, you are more likely to smoke. Sometimes it works the opposite way, and people say, I will never
Exactly.
smoke. Yeah, like me. But and maybe like you.
Yeah.
But when they get to many young people, when they get to teenage years, it's seen as like a cool thing to do or risky behavior. And so if their friends are doing it, it's much more likely that they will do it too. Maybe because they get teased, they get told they're chicken, they're a coward, they're not brave. And so this is very strong psychological pressure for young people, especially boys. But they have to persevere because it makes them cough. It doesn't taste good. So, but unfortunately, one of the really bad things about nicotine is you get addicted extremely quickly.
Yeah.
So even after a few cigarettes, by the time people have smoked a few cigarettes, they could well be addicted already.
Yes.
Maybe 5 or 6 cigarettes,
Oh wow.
or 10, something like that, over the space of a week or two. Nobody thinks they're addicted because they have one cigarette or maybe half to start with, and then the next day they may have one, and 2 days later they may have another one, and then the next day they have one, and the next day, and then they might have two in a day. And by the time they've smoked 10 or 20 maybe, they are probably addicted. It's
Yes.
crazy.
It is fast, yes. So I discovered that. Also, I was reading that 9 out of 10 starts at the age of under 18. Can I say
Yeah,
that? Under
yeah,
18.
yeah, under 18.
They start really, really early.
Yeah,
Yeah, and the interesting thing to me, and I wanted to ask you this, is that nowadays we have, at least here in Brazil, and I figure that in England is the same, we had advertised against smoking, which was different when my parents were growing up,
yeah,
for example,
yeah,
because there were propaganda that, how can I say that, advertised that smoking was good, but
yeah,
now it is advertised that smoking is bad, but at the same time you can go to a movie and watch people smoking the movies or
yes.
in the TV show.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I think that there may be still some advertisement in favor. I was wondering if because yeah, when I mean my father is a smoker, so
Smoker. Mm-hmm.
yeah, when I look at his cigarettes, like how can I say, the pack of cigarettes, I see those horrible, terrible images. So it
Mm-hmm.
feels like tobacco companies are going against themselves, but I was thinking that's not wise. They might doing something in the background to, because you understand what I mean? They are obligated to put in the packs the effects of,
Yeah, they have
like,
to by law, I
by
think.
law they have to. And in Brazil, cigarettes, a pack of cigarettes are so expensive, so there are taxes that the
Yeah,
government puts on cigarettes. But
really, they're expensive in Brazil. Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah,
in England, are they expensive?
extremely expensive. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yes, but still people are getting into smoking. They are starting smoking. So I wonder, what are those companies doing to, or don't you or you do not think that they need to do anything? People just go for it naturally. I mean, why? Because they know, we have the information now. We know what it does. But young people, they still do not consider the health impacts on the long term. Why?
No.
I was like, why? Why?
It's the same reason that young people ignore, not all of them, but many of them ignore the COVID rules,
Oh, yeah.
because they are immortal. In their head, they're immortal. They're not going to die. Like, okay, people say, you have a one in two chance of dying from smoking. If you smoke for like your whole life, you have a 50% chance of dying from smoking. That's crazy. That is crazy that something so lethal is legal. Yeah. So you die from a legal substance, using it in the way that it should be used, you have a 50% chance of dying from it for your whole life. Yeah. But young people cannot think about being 40 or 50 or 60. That's an old person. Can't imagine that.
Yeah.
And also, we always think we'll be okay. Yeah. But the biggest thing is the peer pressure at the time is much greater than, and they think they will be able to stop. That's the point. Because it's so easy to start, even though people tell them you will get addicted and you won't be able to stop, they don't believe it until it's too late. And it's too late very quickly. That's the problem. They do not realize that they won't be able to stop. They think, oh, it's fine, I'll just stop. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as you said, it's really easy to become addicted. Yeah.
Addicted.
Addicted. It
Yeah.
only takes some cigarettes
Yeah.
and nothing more.
But here in this country, the number of young people starting smoking is dropping quite quickly now.
Really?
Yeah, I think maybe not in Brazil, but in this country, after the Second World War, the number of people who smoked was very high. High for our standards. So maybe I think it got to 50% of the adult population. Now it's 15%.
Wow. That's
That's
amazing.
all. Yeah, it's dropped, and it's dropped quickly in the last 10 years, 10, 20 years, because of all the measures that we have put in place in this country. There have been lots of things to try and stop smoking being attractive. So less and less young people are smoking. Some of them are vaping, but that's fine. That's not a problem. Yeah.
I'm
But
sorry,
many
Dot. Vapey?
vaping, like using electronic cigarettes.
So it is okay. They do not contain nicotine.
Yeah, they do contain nicotine, but nicotine isn't the problem. Nicotine keeps you addicted,
Ah, okay.
but the stuff that causes the damage is the smoke. So in vaping, there is no smoke. It's water vapor with nicotine and two chemicals, but they're not harmful. So, and you don't take it right into your lungs. So vaping, so hang on, let me just check. I'll put this in the chat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Electronic, much better, much safer, like cigarettes. But people won't tell you that. Equals, so you vape an electronic cigarette. You vape it. Vaping. Anyway, sorry, I'm going off.
No, but that's so interesting. So I wanted to know more about that. So in England, there are some sort of investments in vaping. So people
a lot
would quit smoking because they would get the same feeling.
Not quite. For most people, not quite the same feeling, because it's vaping. The nicotine doesn't get to your brain as fast because it's not going right through your lungs. But smoke from cigarettes is taken right into your lungs. And if you spread out your lungs like one cell thick, because the little air sacs in your lungs are 1 cell thick. If you spread them out, they would cover a whole tennis court. You know, tennis court? So massive.
Yeah.
So because of that, you get a huge dose of nicotine, absolutely incredible dose of nicotine from smoking cigarettes, because it goes right through your lungs, and it happens within 10 seconds. That's why it's so addictive. With vaping, it doesn't go right into your lungs. It goes to about here, yeah? And you absorb some of it, but it takes longer, maybe a minute or two. So that's why people, usually people start vaping to stop smoking. So they are already addicted to nicotine. So usually people don't start vaping without smoking or first,
Okay.
yeah? So they're already addicted to nicotine. So as long as they're getting their nicotine, it's good. But also they've got the habitual thing like this. This is massive. The habit is a
It is the
massive part of
habit.
smoke.
Yeah.
Part of it is psychologically the action of doing this, but also psychologically the habit of having a cigarette when you're stressed, after a meal, when you wake up in the morning, when you do different things. That's massive as well. It's quite complicated, the whole thing.
Yeah.
So, but vaping with an electronic cigarette, you can do all those things. Yeah, you can, when you're stressed, you can vape. You can, after a meal, you can relax. You know, so it's by far better than smoking. The best thing is for people not to smoke at all, or not to vape anything. But this is very, very safe. It's not 100% safe, because we can't say that, because we don't know if there might be long-term effects that we don't know about. But at the moment, we think it's almost 100% safer, 95% safer. So if you can get your dad onto an electronic cigarette, this would be really good.
That is wonderful, because I agree with you. I mean, great part of the addiction is the habit. It is, I was reading that there are 3 levels, like the physical, psychological, and emotional,
Yes.
when you are quitting smoking. And you feel like the cigarette might be your best friend. Maybe that's why how do you call the things that you put on the skin? So you
The
have
patches.
the patches.
Nicotine patches, yeah.
Patches. So maybe that's why I mean, I'm not sure if I'm saying this correctly, but I think it doesn't work. Whenever I offer that option to my father, he says, no, I don't want to have patches on my skin. It is not the same. Even though you're getting the nicotine from there, it's what you said. The how can I say, puff off?
What?
When
Sorry.
what am I saying? I wrote it down
Puff.
somewhere.
Puff. When you puff. When you
Taking
puff
a
on
puff.
it.
When you take a
Taking a
puff.
puff.
Yeah.
Taking a puff. Well done. Yeah.
Yeah, I had
When
to
you
learn
take
that.
a puff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, but the problem is it's very complicated. So when you take a puff of a cigarette, yeah, people who are addicted breathe very deeply, yeah, and lots of things happen all at the same time. So they get a massive dose of nicotine very fast to their brain, and their brain goes, oh, that's better. That's what I want. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the person feels either de-stressed or relaxed just because their brain has the nicotine. That's why their brain doesn't feel normal anytime it doesn't have nicotine. It only feels normal. The physical brain only feels normal when it has enough nicotine. So that means psychologically, once the nicotine level drops, it needs, I need some more nicotine.
Yeah.
And so that affects their emotional and psychological well-being as well. So it's a very weird thing, because cigarettes can make you relaxed. Well, they don't make you relaxed, they make you feel relaxed, because you have them when you're stressed. And because your nicotine level in your brain goes up, your brain goes, whoa, that's better. And so people think, okay, I'm relaxed. No, they're not. It actually tenses you. Nicotine tenses you, but people don't think that.
Yeah.
But also, people use it to relax themselves when they're stressed, but they also use it for the opposite. when they feel sleepy, they have a cigarette, like to liven themselves up. So that's completely psychological, all of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, and when people are upset, the first thing they want is a cigarette. So
Exactly.
emotionally, it's like a crutch, a crutch, like when you lean on
crutch.
something when
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
very complicated.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So your father won't feel that the patches are working because they take an hour to work.
Yeah, and I do think that he likes. He is addicted to the action also of like going outside, taking a cigarette, taking a puff, taking a puff, lighting up the cigarette. I think there are
all of that.
Those habits. It is a habit.
Yeah,
Cycle.
that's a ritual. That's like a ritual. It's not just a habit of when you do it, but the whole ritual of getting your packet, taking your cigarette out, lighting it, and then taking the puff.
And he usually,
massive.
He usually with coffee. He smokes cigarettes with coffee. Always.
Yeah.
And what you were saying, like, so people, they get a smoke and the nicotine reaches the brain quickly. So it is so they have the feeling like they're relaxed and well, but also what I discovered is that quickly it lowers, so you start experiencing the effects of withdrawal.
Yes.
Within minutes, hours, you are already feeling stress, angry, and
and the more addicted you are, the faster that seems to happen. The nicotine effect will last for a few minutes, maybe 20 minutes, half an hour, but then people start to feel that not right and they need to top up. So many people will have one cigarette an hour, something like that. So it usually is connected to something. Each cigarette is connected to either something that you're doing, like at the time, or like it's coffee time, so I have a cigarette. I've left work, so I have a cigarette. I've woken up. The whole day, there are cigarette times, and that's difficult.
Or triggers, right? Something happens.
These are triggers,
and then you need to get a smoke.
But a trigger can just be making a cup of coffee.
Oh my God,
Or getting out of bed, or putting like for us, putting the kettle on. That for many people was a massive trigger. Put the kettle on while the kettle is boiling. The kettle, we put boiling for tea or coffee. That's when I light my cigarette. And then the whole ritual of maybe going outside, because this is when I relax for 5 minutes. This is my time. Huge. They did some research in the 1980s, a lady researcher in the UK. The medical staff, the public health people, couldn't understand why everybody was ignoring the health campaign messages. We're telling you not to smoke, don't smoke. It doesn't make any difference if doctors tell people to do something. If they're addicted, it won't make any difference. They carry on. And one woman decided to find out why women smoked, women with young children, because the doctors were saying, this is really bad, you mustn't smoke when you're pregnant, you mustn't smoke with young children around, and they carried on doing it. And this one woman found out that it was the only time that the women had any space from the children, any time to themselves in the whole day was several times 5 minutes when they made sure the children were safe and they went into another room or they went outside the door and they smoked, and that was the only time they were away from their children in 24 hours. These are poor women, and then the medical profession began to understand you can't just tell people they have to stop smoking for their health, because it's fulfilling all kinds of emotional problems it's helping with. It doesn't, but people think it does.
I was reading some results of some researches that they did. I guess in 2012, they took people who were addicted in different substances, for example, alcohol. How do you say opioids?
Opiates.
Opiates, cocaine, opiates, cocaine, and heroin and tobacco. And what they discover, and during that period, people they would try to quit. So they discovered that 18% of the people who were addicted to alcohol could stop. 18% of people who were addicted in alcohol quit. 40% of people who were addicted in opiates and heroin stopped. 40.
Wow.
Yeah. I'll send it to you. And but only 8% quit tobacco, and then it was a shocking result, because as you said in the beginning, people get into this habit, this addiction, thinking that it's harmless, that they could drop at any time. But it is not what happens. It is harder. Maybe you saw that when you were working as an advisor, right?
Yes.
And I wanted to ask you, what the, can I say, the age range of the people who are in the programs with you? How old were they?
Usually from 40 upwards, more often in their 50s and 60s and 70s, because they had health problems.
That's the reason why they wanted to stop? The only reason, you would say?
Not the only reason, no. Sometimes people wanted to stop because they knew it was bad and they couldn't believe they'd been smoking for so long. So maybe people in their 40s and 50s just decided, I don't want to do this anymore. This is crazy. It's going to kill me. I can't believe I've been smoking for this length of time, because they thought they would smoke for a year or two. And then 20 years later, they want to stop. Quite often people stopped, especially guys, when they had a family. Women tried to stop when they were pregnant, and many do. Many women do stop when they're pregnant. They just stop, which is not easy. But it tends to be the more middle class women who have an easier life. That many of the what we call working class, poorer women, find it much more difficult to stop smoking, even when they're pregnant, because they know they shouldn't, but it's helping them they feel it's helping them to cope with their lives, because they have so many problems, like bad housing, unemployment, not enough money, and they feel that it's helping them. But across the board, many young fathers stop smoking or try to stop smoking when they have a family. When people feel that it's actually affecting, they can't play football anymore, they're out of breath, or they can't run, or they can't do the gym, that's a big reason as well for people in their 40s, maybe 50s. We did have younger people, quite a few 30-year-olds, not many 20-year-olds, not many at all. Maybe 5% of people would be in their 20s, and very, very rarely under 20, occasionally. But maybe 10% of people 12% would be in their 30s, and then maybe 25% of people would be in their 40s, and then the majority would be 50 or above. And when it was starting to make them ill, very often. That's the main reason.
Wow. I came across some, when I was reading and researching for this conversation, I came across a channel. I don't remember the name, but there were some, how can I say, people telling their stories briefly with cigarettes. And they were telling such sad stories, why they stopped. For example, excuse me, that. So I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. So they they were telling, so there was this guy, he said that he was in the transplant for a lung list, but in order to be in that transplant list, he couldn't smoke anymore. He had to stop, but he couldn't. And then he lost his place, the right to be in the list. And then he was crying and saying, I screwed up bad, and talking about his family. And they were so shame, but we couldn't. And there was also a lady. I do not understand what happened. I'm not really familiar with all the consequences of smoking tobacco, but she had something here on her throat, and she with something that I don't know what's that for.
Like something that she spoke through, like a hole here.
Yeah, with there was some device that she would put. Or where would she put? I don't know. But then
she would have probably have had throat cancer.
Yeah.
Cancer, and so they would have to take out her voice box, her larynx.
Yes.
And she would, then she wouldn't be able to breathe normally through her mouth and nose, so she would have to breathe through here.
Yes.
And they would put a speaking tube, maybe a speaking tube in there.
Yeah.
Awful.
No, it is. It is awful. But I don't quite remember if it was her or another woman who said that even after the surgery, maybe it's not possible for her to smoke. Would it be possible for her to come home and still have a cigarette with that surgery? Maybe it was another lady. Maybe it was another.
I'm not sure. No, I'm not sure. I wouldn't have thought she'd be able to breathe.
No. There was another one. She had mouth cancer, and she lost part of her face. And then she came home, and there was also some shame in what she was saying, because even after the surgery, she would come home and take a cigarette, like hidden from her family.
But you know why? Because she wouldn't probably have smoked in the hospital, because she was in a completely different environment where it's not acceptable to smoke in the hospital. But when she came home, and so she may not even have wanted to smoke. And in this country, we give people patches if they're smokers in hospital to make them more comfortable, yeah? But when she came home...
What do you give people? So sorry to interrupt.
Nicotine
patches.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sorry. Mm-hmm.
If the people want them, we give them nicotine patches when they're in hospital for something else to make them not want to smoke, yeah. But when she came home, her normal habit would simply click in. As soon as she came through the door, she would see the table, the kitchen, everything. It's like, oh, I smoke here. And her brain would simply click back into, this is where I smoke, so it's okay to have a cigarette. What you have to get people to do is, before they stop smoking, is practice not smoking at their normal times and in their normal places. And then they've got a good chance of doing it. But you have to get them to practice over and over again doing that.
But what do you mean? So they would have a smoke in different places? And
first of all, you spend a week or 2 weeks with them. Well, they do it themselves. So you talk them through it. It's a very intensive process. You talk them through, okay, when you get up in the morning, I don't want you to smoke straight away. No, you wait 5 minutes.
Wow.
5 minutes, so that you are doing something else. Instead of putting the kettle on, and I used to say to them, go and sit in another chair where you wouldn't normally smoke, in another room or whatever, for 5 minutes while the kettle's boiling, because normally they would be standing on the doorstep while the kettle boiled, having a cigarette. No, you wait 5 minutes. Then you have your coffee and you take it. That's fine. You can have your coffee and then have your cigarette, but have it somewhere else where you wouldn't normally sit. Yeah. Or what I would normally say is have your cup of coffee and then have a cigarette afterwards, not with it. So what you're doing is you're pulling apart the cigarette and the coffee. Or after a meal, you say, okay, wait for 10 minutes and go and do something else. And then after 10 minutes, don't sit at the table where you would normally have your cigarette. You go outside. And I used to make people smoke only outside for the week before they tried to stop. Because otherwise it's impossible. As soon as people get up in the morning, the normal habit would kick in. oh my God, I need a cigarette. I put this patch on, but it's not working. I need a cigarette, because the habit
It
is
is the
telling them.
habit. Mm-hmm.
So we make them practice beforehand, smoking in different places and at different times to what they would normally, and they get used to it. Some people better than others. So you have to train them, or they have to train themselves. I don't smoke now at this time, even if it's only 5 or 10 minutes that they wait while the normal smoking time goes past, and then they smoke. And then they have a quit day where they start using the treatment. There are 8 different kinds of treatment. They start using the treatment on that day, and they don't smoke at all. Not at all, not one puff. That's it.
Wow.
But you can't expect people to do that if you haven't trained them, or they haven't trained their brain. Next week it's going to be different, so I have to try and change my habits now. Yeah, some people it takes 2 or 3 weeks to do that. So it's like a 7-week course altogether. Anyway, sorry.
No, but it's so wonderful. You're giving me such interesting information. Can I say that?
Hopefully, yeah.
No, such interesting. Yeah, it is.
Treatment. The treatment is not what does it. The treatment helps, but people to stop smoking, people have to change their habits, and they have to start doing that before they stop. And once they stop, they stop. They're not allowed to smoke, not even one puff. And what we had was a machine that measured carbon monoxide, because the most dangerous thing is carbon monoxide, which you probably found out. Yeah. Before they stop smoking, they have a high level of carbon monoxide when they breathe into the machine. It's a red light, it's really high, something like 20, 25, 30, 40 parts per million, which is crazy. When they stop smoking, within 1 day, it's normal. It's a green light, and it's like below 5.
Yeah.
We do that every time they come, and they can see a green light every time, and they can't believe it. Wow. And that is really motivating for people. Wow. So we can't do that now, because everything's online, but that's what I used to do.
Wow, that's amazing.
But people can see it.
Yeah, and now I feel kind of naive of expecting that my father would just drop one day. He would get up and say, I don't want that anymore. It's not that simple. No, that's why they don't manage to quit, because they want to secretly, because my father, he does not verbalize that, but I know that he wants to.
Almost all smokers want to quit.
Yeah.
Almost all. They know it's bad for them. They just they just don't know how to do it. It's really sad. One of the best things you could do is to get either not get him one, but try and persuade him to get an electronic cigarette, because that will maybe save his life. Seriously.
Yes, definitely. Yes. Wow. I mean, they're not that popular here, but I've heard of them, but I just thought they were a replacement. I didn't search much into it, so I just thought, so it's just you're trading. Do you say you're trading half for 6? No, is that such a saying in English?
No, you're saying you could say you're trading one for the other, so it's the same. Or you could say it's like 6 of one and half a dozen of the other.
Yeah. Would you say that again? Is it?
It's six of one, so 6.
6 of one and half a dozen of the other.
Half a dozen, because a dozen is 12.
Yeah, no, so we say 6. The same. We 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. I thought it was that. Yeah.
But you can get them online. The problem is, here we have vaping shops. We have many now vaping shops, and before COVID, you could go in, try different e-cigarettes, because there are many different ones. You can get little cartridges, or you can get fluid that you put into the tank, which has nicotine in, different strengths. And you used to be able to go and try different fluids with different flavors, different strengths, different e-cigarettes. Now, I don't think people can do that because of COVID, but you can get them online. Depending on how How soon does your father smoke in the morning? How quickly does he have
Oh, as
cigarettes?
soon as you wake up.
Okay, that means he's very addicted. It's not the
Oh,
number. It's not the number you smoke. It's how soon you smoke.
oh,
That is,
interesting.
yeah. So he would need, if he got an e-cigarette, he would need one that would give him quite a lot of nicotine. So he needs to research it a bit, or maybe you do. And quite a strong fluid. I think the strongest we can get here is 21 milligrams.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is in Brazil, but 21 milligrams should be enough
21 milligrams.
per milliliter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll definitely search into it. Can I say that? I will. I'll research. I'll research.
It.
I'll research it. Yeah. Oh, Dot, it was so wonderful talking to you. Thank you.
Hey, we can have a bit longer if you like.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I don't wanna steal your time.
That's okay.
Yeah. No,
have you asked all the things you wanted to ask, though? I mean, is there anything else you wanted to know?
No. Yes. No. No. Yeah. Actually, I wanted to ask one more question. In your experience working with what is what you did, advisor, counselor advisor, smoking
advisor, or
it's
stop
smoking
smoking advisor.
stop smoking advisor. After the 7-week program, they were cured of the addiction, or they would fall back into it? What is the success of the program?
Success rate, yeah.
Success rate.
We measured success at whether people, the bottom line is how many people stop smoking completely for 1 year, yeah? If you stop smoking for a year without smoking at all, not even one puff, the chances are you won't smoke then for the rest of your life, okay? But many people go back. So at the end of it's a 7-week program because we got people to stop smoking completely after 2 weeks, yeah, with treatment, lots of treatment. And so we measured at the week number 7, we measured 4 weeks of not smoking. At 4 weeks of not smoking, 65% of people were not smoking.
Wow.
Hadn't smoked for 4 weeks, okay? When you look at that at the end of a year, 30% of those people are still not smoking. So 30% of the 65% are still not smoking at the end of a year. So of the people who actually wanted to quit, who set a date to stop, it's 20% at the end of a year, which doesn't sound much at all. And we used to have lots of GPs, family doctors, saying, well, this is rubbish, why are we paying for this? Actually, if you try and do it on your own, it's 3% every year.
Oh, wow.
Only 3% of people manage to do it by themselves without any help, okay? So what we were doing, even though it didn't look great, was 7 times what people would do. And actually, it was the most cost-effective treatment in the whole health service, probably, in terms of saving money for the health service, from people not dying of heart disease, lung cancer, all kinds of different cancers, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, which your father may be getting if he's not breathing very well. He may be getting chronic lung disease. So only 20% after a year, but that's much better than people doing it by themselves.
Yeah. Wow, Dot. Wow. I would feel so. I think what you were doing was so fulfilling, right? You must be so fulfilled at the end of the program. To see what you've accomplished with those people, changing their lives, their families' lives.
Yeah. And sometimes people would contact me, maybe only a few times, maybe a year later, and say, I'm still not smoking. I can't believe it, and thank you. And this is how much money I've saved. Yeah, and that was so good, so cool.
Wow. I
have so many stories in my head about people. It's great. But honestly, if I can help your father, I will do. If there's anything I can do, I mean, I know he probably doesn't speak English, but if you want any advice about vaping, Oh, get him an e-cigarette. Get him an e-cigarette. Seriously.
I will, Dot. I will. I want to keep having conversations with you, not even if not for the channel, but this topic is fascinating. Well, it is sad, but it is interesting at the same time, and I would love to know the stories of the people that you've helped throughout the years.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe off the record.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. So thank you so much once again. Thank you for being a part of that. I'm very happy that you are here. You are my old. I mean, how can I say?
Oldest, the oldest.
No. The oldest teacher, no, not in age, but
No,
I mean the teacher that I have the most time. How can I say this?
The longest.
The longest, yes. Sorry, Dot. The longest.
It's a long time.
It's been 4 years. It's been 4 years.
Amazing.
Yes. You are the reason I got into Italki. You are the reason why I'm a teacher today. So
really?
Of course.
Wow, how scary is that? That's good. That's good.
It was supposed to be good, but
that was good. So Camila, just tell me, is this a YouTube channel or like a different channel on Italki? Or?
No, it is not on Italki. It is a personal channel. So I'm recording conversations with people, with special people like you, and and it's just about creating memories. I guess it is not a famous channel. I don't think you'll ever be. It's only for me and my friends. So I'm posting videos, and I would like to look back at those maybe in some years and you know.
Well, if you want to send me the link, so I can look. That would be great. I would love to.
Yeah. Thank you, Dot. Thank you so much.
Anytime.
And have a wonderful day, and we'll speak soon.
Yeah, and we never once mentioned the virus. Oh, well, that's good. That's great.
That's great. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
See you next time.
Take care.
Take care. You too.
That was interesting. Bye.
Thank you.